Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
Ready to explore something pretty interesting with us.
Always.
Today we're going to be looking at online gaming culture.
All right.
Specifically something that I think a lot of us have encountered.
Okay, yeah.
That's right, the vote to kick system.
Vote to kick.
A system that can either be a tool for order or a weapon for trolls.
Right.
It can be used for both, can't it?
It certainly can.
Our source today is, believe it or not,
Okay.
a single thread.
One thread.
A single fascinating thread
All right.
from the World of Warcraft forums.
Okay, World of Warcraft. I'm intrigued.
So this is a story about a silent tank,
Silent tank.
a frustrated player,
Okay.
and a message from, well, Mom.
Mom. All right, this is getting interesting.
Yep, you heard that right. Mom.
So how does Mom figure into a World of Warcraft forum thread?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
All ears.
What I think is so fascinating about this whole thing
Yeah.
is that this seemingly simple scenario
Yeah.
actually shines a light on a lot of different complexities of online interaction.
Yeah.
We've got parental control in here.
Okay.
We've got community dynamics. We've got
absolutely.
the very design of online spaces.
It's all there.
It's all kind of wrapped up in
It's all
this,
coming together.
one little story.
I see.
Okay, so picture this.
All right.
We've got a player named Creathapens.
Creathapens. Okay.
And Creathapens has been gaming for a while.
Okay.
Almost 50 years of gaming
Wow. 50 years.
under their belt.
That's a veteran gamer right there.
That's a lot of dungeon runs.
Yeah, they've seen it all.
They're in a dungeon group.
Okay.
And there's this other player
Right.
who won't stop talking,
Okay.
constantly kind of peppering the tank with questions.
Okay, so we got a chatty player. Silent tank? What's going on with the tank?
But here's the thing. The tank is silent.
Silent.
And, Creathapens,
Yeah.
with all their experience,
Right.
knows that silence, like in an online game, can mean a lot of things.
Of course.
Maybe the player's shy.
Yeah.
Maybe their mic isn't working.
Maybe they're just focused in the zone.
Yeah.
Happens to me all the time.
Maybe they're just, super focused on the game.
Right.
Exactly.
But this chatty player kind of just jumps to a conclusion
Oh, no.
and decides to initiate a vote to kick the silent tank.
So they just assume the worst.
No warning, no attempt to understand.
Wow.
Just straight to kick.
That's rough.
And here's the thing. Enough people in the group just click yes.
Oh, wow.
Without a second thought.
Just going with the flow.
Boom!
Tank's out.
Tank is out.
It's interesting how, online interaction, sometimes it seems like that barrier to taking kind of drastic action is lowered.
Oh, absolutely. In a face-to-face setting, you might hesitate.
Yeah.
But online, it's just a click of a button.
You just click it.
And that vote to kick system, which, on the one hand is designed to remove disruptive players,
Yeah.
can sometimes become a way to enforce these unspoken and sometimes arbitrary social rules.
It's like you were saying,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to do that when
Yeah.
when it's just a click of a button and you're not actually
And you don't have to see the person's face.
face to face.
You don't have to deal with the immediate consequences of your actions.
Right. Now, here's where the story takes a turn.
Okay, the mom comes in, right?
The kicked player's mom
The mom.
messages Creathapens.
Whoa, hold on. The mom messages them directly.
Turns out the player is actually 14 years old
14, okay.
and isn't allowed to talk to other players because of some negative experiences he had in the past.
That makes sense.
So mom and dad laid down the law.
No voice chat.
No voice chat.
It's such a common situation for parents these days, right?
Yeah.
Trying to balance your child's safety and online well-being with their desire to, be part of the gaming community.
It's a tough one.
It is. You want to protect your kids, but online games can also be a great way to connect with others, to socialize, to learn teamwork.
So it's like, how do you, protect your kids
Right.
without completely cutting them off from these spaces?
Yeah, exactly. It's finding that balance.
There's such a big part of their world.
Middle ground.
And this mom's solution was, 1 hour on weeknights, 2 hours on weekends. So she's trying to
It's reason
she's trying to find that sweet spot.
What's interesting to me is that Creathapens,
Yeah.
being a veteran gamer,
Right.
immediately gets it.
They see where the mom's coming from.
You see the bigger picture.
Yeah, they understand the parental concerns.
Yeah.
And they see that the kid just wants to play.
And what they do next is pretty awesome. What did they do?
Krithapens, feeling bad for the kid,
Okay.
runs a separate dungeon.
Oh, wow.
Just for him,
No kidding.
giving him a chance to play without fear of being kicked.
That's really cool of him.
And that one little incident sparks this huge discussion on the forum.
Oh, I bet. People had opinions.
People start debating the vote to kick system,
Right.
its flaws,
Yeah.
its merits,
Mm.
and whether it needs some tweaking.
I mean, it's a system that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
There's bound to be some room for improvement.
Some argue it's inherently flawed.
Okay, how so?
Because, let's be honest,
Yeah.
how many of us actually read the kick reason
Oh, that's a good point.
before clicking yes?
Yeah, sometimes you're just in a hurry. You want to get back to the action. You see that vote pop up and you're like, yeah, sure, kick them.
Get them out of here.
I don't even know why.
But then others defend the system, saying it's necessary for getting rid of truly disruptive players.
Right, the ones who are intentionally trying to ruin the game for everyone else.
Right, the ones who are,
Yeah.
just being jerks.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between empowering players to moderate their own experience and protecting individuals from, unfair actions.
It's tough.
It's not a simple problem to solve.
It is not.
Yeah.
And the forum thread actually dives into some pretty specific examples
Okay.
of this vote to kick system gone wrong.
Like what?
Like there's this one player who got kicked
Right.
for having the lowest DPS,
Lowest DPS, what is that?
which means damage per second,
Okay, damage per second, got it.
even though their role was a healer,
Oh, a healer.
which isn't about dealing damage at all.
So they're getting punished for not doing something that they're not supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
That seems unfair.
It's like judging a fish
Right.
on its ability to climb a tree,
It's a good analogy. Yeah.
And the whole thing wasn't like a love fest for Krithapens either.
Really?
Some people on the forum
Okay.
were skeptical about the mom's message,
What? They didn't believe it?
Yeah.
Why not?
questioning whether it was even real.
The classic internet skepticism.
Right.
Always got to be suspicious of everything.
Which brings up this whole other layer
Yeah.
to this situation, right?
Yeah.
The anonymity of the internet,
Right.
it's so easy
Yeah.
to dismiss or downplay someone's experience.
Especially when you can't see them,
Especially when you can't see their face.
Right.
Right.
So I guess it's a reminder that, while a healthy dose of skepticism online is important, it shouldn't come at the expense of empathy and open-mindedness.
Okay, so we've got this flawed system. We've got people jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
We've got the added wrinkle of, online anonymity.
Right.
So, where do we go from here?
What can we do?
Well, the forum thread actually had some pretty interesting suggestions for how to improve the vote to kick system.
All right, I'm curious.
One idea was to add a text box
A text box.
where players
Yeah, okay.
would actually have to type out the reason for the kick.
Instead of just clicking
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Oh, I see. Make them actually think about it.
Force people to at least be conscious of
Yeah.
why they're kicking someone.
Exactly. Put some effort into it.
Another suggestion was to implement cooldown timers.
Cooldown timers. Okay.
So you couldn't just spam
Right. So you can't just kick someone because you're feeling petty.
kick votes every few minutes.
You have to actually have a reason.
And, both of those ideas
Yeah.
kind of aim at increasing accountability.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Make people more responsible for their actions.
And making players think twice
Yeah.
before kicking someone.
Right.
But as Krithapens pointed out, finding a perfect solution
Yeah.
is really hard.
It's a tough one. It's a delicate balance.
You want something that's fair,
Right.
but also practical.
Right.
And you don't want it to bog down the gameplay.
You don't want to make the game less fun.
Right. Yep.
So you have to find that sweet spot.
It's such a tricky balance.
It really is.
And, thinking about Krithapens' experience,
Yeah.
everything we've been talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you wonder,
It makes you think.
is the real problem the system itself,
Right.
or is it the people?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it?
Right.
Is it the tools or is the people using the tools?
The vote to kick system
Yeah.
is just a tool.
Right.
How that tool is used
Yeah.
ultimately depends on the players.
On their intentions, their understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
It's a human element.
So what does this all mean for you,
For the listener, yeah.
a listener?
Yeah. Sitting there listening to us ramble on about video games.
Well, if you've ever played online games,
Mm-hmm.
you've probably been in a situation,
Right, I've been there.
maybe even on both sides,
Yeah.
where the vote to kick system
Mhm.
came into play.
Absolutely.
Maybe you've seen it used fairly, Maybe you've seen it abused.
Yeah.
Or maybe you've even, questioned your own actions in those moments.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment,
And this deep dive isn't just about gaming.
It's about how we interact online,
It's about how we interact with each other in these online spaces.
about navigating social dynamics, about finding that balance between individual needs and the needs of the community.
Right. It's about digital citizenship.
Exactly. We're all citizens of these online spaces.
And I think what's really resonating with me
Yeah.
is the question of empathy.
Oh, empathy's huge.
In the rush of a game,
Yeah.
it's easy to forget
It's easy to forget that there are real people on the other side of the screen
that there are real people behind those avatars.
with their own lives, their own stories,
Each with their own story and their own reasons
their own reasons for being there.
for being there.
Exactly. And that's why what Kritha Pens did was so cool.
Right.
They took the time to understand, to show compassion, and ultimately to create a positive experience for someone who was just trying to have fun.
Okay, so we've talked about the situation. We've explored the issues.
Yeah.
We've even brainstormed some solutions.
Solutions, right?
But what about
The bigger picture?
the bigger picture?
Yeah.
How do we create these online spaces that are both fun and safe,
Right.
especially for younger players?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
It's a challenge.
It's something that game developers, parents, and all of us who participate in these communities are grappling with.
that we're all grappling with.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation.
And it's a challenge that's, constantly evolving
As technology changes,
as technology changes.
new platforms emerge.
Right.
But I think one thing that remains constant is the need for open communication and a willingness to understand different perspectives.
To see things from other people's points of view.
Exactly, to step outside of our own little bubbles.
Right. It's about fostering a culture of respect and empathy,
Where we assume good intentions.
where we assume good intentions
we communicate clearly.
and think twice
Yeah.
before, jumping to conclusions
Or taking actions that could negatively impact others.
or taking actions that could negatively impact others.
It's about recognizing that online spaces are an extension of our real-world communities.
It's all connected.
And that the same values should apply. Kindness, respect, and a sense of shared responsibility for creating a positive environment.
And, this whole vote to kick discussion
Yeah.
is like a perfect microcosm
Real example.
of that challenge.
Yeah, it really highlights those issues.
It's a system that's designed to help, right?
To maintain order, fairness.
Maintain order and fairness.
Give players some control.
But it can be so easily misused
Yeah.
if we don't approach it thoughtfully
If we don't think about the human element.
and with empathy.
Right.
So is there a better way
That's the question.
to handle vote to kick systems?
Is there a way to prevent unfair removals while still addressing disruptive behavior?
Could there be a way to build more safeguards into the system?
Right, like those text boxes we talked about.
Or is the answer more about fostering a shift
The cultural shift.
in online behavior?
Encouraging people to be more mindful, more aware.
It's a complex issue
It is.
with no easy solution.
No easy answers.
But by talking about it,
Right.
by sharing stories like Kritha Pens'
By bringing these issues to light.
and by continuing to explore these questions,
Yeah.
we can hopefully start to move
To move in the right direction. Yeah.
in the right direction.
To create a better online experience for everyone.
And ultimately, that's what this deep dive
That's what we're all about.
is all about.
Exploring these ideas, sharing these stories, and hopefully sparking some conversation.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
When you encounter a vote to kick in a game,
Mm-hmm.
you're not just clicking a button.
Right.
You're making a choice.
With choice.
A choice that can have a real impact
Yeah.
on another person's experience.
Absolutely.
It's like we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Digital citizenship.
Digital citizens.
Our actions online have consequences.
They do.
Just like they do
Just like in the real world.
in the real world.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that sometimes when you're behind a screen.
It is.
But it's important to remember.
It is.
What's interesting is that this whole scenario with the silent tank,
Right.
it almost acts as like a Rorschach test
Okay.
for how we view online interactions. Some people might see the chatty player as being rude and inconsiderate,
Okay.
while others might see them as just trying to be sociable, maybe even a bit clueless, but not malicious.
Right.
It's all about perspective.
And then you've got the players who voted to kick.
Right.
without even questioning the situation?
Yeah, just going with the flow.
Are they just going along with the crowd?
Mm,
Are they afraid to speak up?
possibly.
Or do they genuinely believe
Right.
that silence equals
Like it's a kickable offense.
the kickable offense?
Just for not talking.
It really makes you think about
Yeah.
the dynamics of group behavior online.
It does, doesn't it?
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment,
Yeah.
to follow the lead of others,
Right. To just go along with the group.
without stopping to consider the individual
The individual.
at the center of it all.
Yeah, the human being on the other side of the screen.
It's like that classic experiment
Oh,
where
yeah.
people are asked to judge the length of lines.
Right.
And even when they knew the group was wrong,
Yeah.
they still conformed
To the majority
to
opinion.
the majority opinion.
It's powerful stuff, social pressure.
And that same kind of social pressure exists online.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe even more so because of the anonymity factor.
Right, you're not face to face, so it's easier to just blend in.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to be aware of those influences.
To be mindful.
To be willing to question the status quo.
To stand up for what you believe in.
And to advocate for fairness and understanding.
Even when it's not the popular thing to do.
Even when it's not the popular thing to do.
Right.
Because ultimately,
Yes, yeah.
we all have a role to play
We do.
in creating a better online experience.
It's a collective effort.
It's not just up to game developers or moderators.
Right, we all have a responsibility
It's up to each and every one of us.
to create a positive and respectful environment.
And that's what makes stories like Crate Pins is so important.
They remind us that our actions matter.
They remind us that even small gestures of kindness
Can have a big impact.
can have a big impact.
Ripples.
And that we have the power to shape
The culture.
the culture of online spaces
For the better.
for the better.
For sure.
So the next time you're in an online game
Yeah.
and you see that vote to kick pop up,
That little window.
take a moment.
Pause.
Ask yourself,
What's going on here?
what's the reason for the kick?
Is it justified?
Is it justified?
Have I tried to understand the situation?
Have I tried to understand?
Am I just following the crowd?
Am I just following the crowd?
Important question.
Because maybe,
Maybe.
just maybe,
Yeah.
by taking that extra second to think,
Mhm.
to empathize,
To put yourself in someone else's shoes.
to choose kindness over conformity,
Yeah.
we can start to create
Online communities.
online communities
Where everyone feels welcome.
where everyone feels welcome,
Respected.
respected,
And safe to be themselves.
and safe to be themselves.
Well, that's the goal.
And that brings us to the end
To the end of our deep dive.
of our deep dive.
Sad to see it go.
We hope this conversation
Mm-hmm.
has given you some food for thought,
Some things to ponder.
some new perspectives on online gaming culture,
And beyond, really.
and maybe even inspired you to be a force
A force for good
for positive change
in your own digital interactions.
in your own digital interactions.
Make the internet a better place.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.
Until next time.